After all the cutscenes, you get a set of cassette tapes titled Truth Records. These tapes contain multiple conversations between key characters in the story. The first one is between the real Big Boss and Ocelot. It's set in the hospital soon after Big Boss wakes up. It reveals that Big Boss woke up around the same time you did, except he was able to stay on his feet, unlike you who had to recover for several weeks. So it's possible that the feeling of revenge that set off the floating kid was actually Big Boss, not you. But that's kind of irrelevant, honestly. Big Boss had already been told about the plan to use you as a diversion for Cypher and the world as a whole, at least until it was his time to finally come back with his nation of soldiers. Ocelot explains that he used induced hypnagogia combined with your altered state of consciousness to implant Big Boss's memories into your head, which is why it was so easy to make you believe you were Big Boss. You barely had a consciousness to begin with. The second tape is another conversation between Big Boss and Ocelot. This time they talk about Les Enfants Terribles project. According to Ocelot, the project was abandoned in 1976, and Ocelot says he was worried about him, or his sons, calling him because they're his clone. Big Boss sounded almost disgusted at Ocelot calling them him, and he says that they are no sons of his and they're definitely not him, although Zero and Eva seem to think different. What Eva has to do with this, we don't find out for a very, very long time. Anyways, Ocelot explains that the first two were raised free range, meaning they weren't kept in this in some kind of Cypher facility or something. They grew up normally. The first one, named David, most likely named after Zero, has never left the States, but the other, Eli, had disappeared. So yes, Eli is indeed one of Big Boss's clone. His DNA didn't match up his DNA didn't match up because Eli isn't your clone. He's Big Boss's clone. And despite the fact that you look like Big Boss, you still don't have the same DNA. According to Ocelot, they abandoned him like trash in England, and Zero lost track of him when he found out about his birth and ran away from his home. This all partially explains Eli's hate for adults and Big Boss. Big Boss told Ocelot that if he runs into him while in Africa, he should just treat him like another person. He himself had nothing to say to Eli. The next few tapes explain how Zero had come under some sort of attack, and he had to set up an escape plan to get out of anybody's radar who may be tracking him. It worked so well that even Ocelot lost track of him, so this begs the question, who is running Cypher? Well, apparently, using the modified AI that Strangelove made, Donald Anderson, or as we knew him in Metal Gear Solid 3, Sigint, one of the founding members of Cypher, made an AI designed to follow Zero's will. The same way the mammal pod was designed to follow the boss's will, but it was also designed to slowly but surely control the world's information through the ever-growing internet. Any information that goes through the net goes through the system first, and it filters and or edits it before handing it out over to humans, hence deciding what humans may know, and hence being able to shift the times at its will, or Zero's will. This AI is what had taken control of Cypher. The name of this project was called the Patriots. Another of the tapes is a conversation between Paz and Zero. This conversation was when Zero assigned Paz the mission she conducted during the Peace Walker incident. Not much to reveal here, but it's interesting nonetheless. Another tape shows the full version of a conversation we heard between Paz and Skullface in Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. It's Paz being interrogated as to where Zero's location is. She told him because she thought it would help in killing Zero and in saving Big Boss. Zero was apparently in a normal building hiding in plain sight. However, this room was in a floor that was inaccessible by any elevators. Officially, the floor doesn't exist, and the only access is by a secret staircase in a room on the lower floor. The room he's in doesn't even have windows or doors. Despite the fact that the residents of the building were of various ages and races, they were all Cypher personnel. Everything inside that room is controlled and monitored. Zero was essentially the Illuminati incarnate. The next tape is a conversation between Ocelot and Zero. This was after the attack on Mother Base. It explains how after the attack on Mother Base, Zero went on a misinformation campaign in order to keep the real information about what happened to the public, but mainly to hide the fact that Big Boss survived. He was the one who assigned Eva the job of leading the transfer of Big Boss to the hospital in Cyprus. So Zero had no interest in seeing Snake die. This was the only reason Eva and Ocelot were working with Zero again, to save Big Boss. The end of the tape explains that Zero was the one who set up the plan to make you into Big Boss to distract attention from Big Boss. The next tape is a conversation between Kaz and Zero, set after he recovered and got out of the hospital he was in. Apparently after the crash, Kaz, Big Boss, you and any survivors were sent to a hospital, but only you and Big Boss were transferred to the one in Cyprus by Zero's will whilst Kaz was asleep. He did this in order to keep him away from Kaz, as anyone looking for Big Boss would be looking for Kaz. Instead of telling him where Big Boss is, Zero introduced him to a network of messengers who will lead him to Ocelot. And Ocelot told Kaz the things he needed to know. Except that you weren't the real Big Boss, I guess. Kaz asked why he did what he did to Mother Base, still believing that it was Zero who destroyed it. He said he understood that the operation, what the operation with Paz was all about during Peace Walker. He just wanted to recruit Snake, forcefully. But he didn't understand, if that's all he wanted, how he could have possibly destroyed Mother Base in an attempt to kill Snake. Considering that despite their misunderstanding, Big Boss and Zero were once close allies. Zero tells Kaz that this wasn't his doing, and that he never intended for any of it to happen. However, Kaz doesn't believe him, and he ends up by saying that when he and Big Boss team up again, they will expand and eventually take him and Cypher down. The next tape is a conversation between Skullface and Zero. In it, Skullface talks to Zero after Zero received a gift from Skullface. The gift is a pin from a soldier he knew a long time ago. While looking at it, he pricks his finger on the point. Zero goes on reminiscing about the friend it belonged to. At one point, him and Skullface begin talking about bringing back the Parasites project, as it was a project that Zero's predecessor started, but Zero saw it as a test case for reverse evolution and let go of the project after he started a certain genetics project based off of the parasites. This project would remove the clumsiness of targeting an entire race, and he would be able to instead target individuals. Skullface tries to talk him into it, but Zero cuts him off and tells him that after the Cold War, enemies won't be so clearly defined. Eliminating a race won't really do much good, so whatever he's developing will have the efficiency of being used as a virus without the clumsiness of having to target anyone who speaks a language. Instead, it will be able to target any individual or many specific individuals. As Skullface continues to try and persuade Zero, Zero tells him that it is done. He has found a way to make the world the boss saw be a reality. With this plan, speaking of the Patriot system and what he would do with it, race, tribal affiliations, religion, and even our faces would become irrelevant. We would retain our individualism while serving the collective, making mankind one again. At this moment, Zero begins to collapse, and he realizes that he had been infected with what I believe is the parasite, or at least a type of parasite. Skullface did it by infecting the pin that he sent to Zero. When he pricked himself with it, he became infected. He only kept him talking so that the parasites would awaken. Again, that's what I believe. It could also be just to try and see if he was up for reviving the Parasite Project again, but considering that he wanted revenge against Zero from the beginning, I doubt he wasn't going to kill him anyways. The point is, he infected him with something, and now he's being slowly debilitated into a invincible state. And despite the best doctors, it could not be reversed. The final tape is a conversation between Zero and Big Boss, except Big Boss was still in a coma. He decided to visit Big Boss before he died, so that he could talk to him one last time, even if Big Boss wasn't able to hear him. Now this is where it gets complicated, because the doctors talk as if your face, had already been reconstructed. Yet according to what Zero says in this tape, this was only 2 years after the crash, and we played through the facial reconstruction surgery. And one thing is certain, Ocelot is already here, so his conversation with Ocelot came first. Other than that, I don't really understand how to interpret the fact that the facial reconstruction supposedly happened when we woke up. I don't know, it's confusing. Anyways, Zero takes this time to reminisce with Big Boss about the old days, and to tell him about Skullface and about XOF, and how thanks to Skullface he is now dying, or at least being put in a vegetable state slowly. He tells him that his brain is degrading thanks to what Skullface did to him, and if he didn't wake up soon, he won't remember Snake when he does wake up. After this, Zero leaves the hospital, and he is never seen again by anyone until the year 2014. And that's it. That is the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 5, and holy crap was it a lot longer than I thought. My god. I hope I can manage to cut it down without making it sound like I just I'm just listing facts or whatever. So much of this game is told through tapes, so I have a feeling the videos themselves will be a bit dull. Anyways, next time we will go through probably both Metal Gear 1 and 2 in a short video or two, because those games are quite lacking in story and length. Then again, that's what I thought about this game. Anyways, until then, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.